This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Bruce, come on, let's get out of here.
I suspected that we might meet Batman.
You got into Wayne's computers during his partnership with LexCorp.
Yes.
You saw that his company could build you a rocket, so you took control of Bruce Wayne and had him authorize the project.
You're every bit the detective that your followers on the internet believe.
I also know how you work. Collect a planet's knowledge, then destroy it. I can't allow you to leave.
What you allow does not concern me. While your deductive skills are impressive, you are still only human.
Hey everybody, this is Bat-Fans. Yes, we're still here. My name is Dane, and as always, I have Tim with me. Tim, how's it going?
Hello. What's up, Dane? And we are on episode 176, by the way. Forgot the most important part, Dane.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, episode 176. We've done 175, Tim, of these things.
I know. We're just, a quarter away from 200 episodes.
Yeah.
Which just only seems like yesterday we were getting ready for our big 100 episode. Now we're already close to 200. Crazy.
How many baseball seasons is that? 5? 6? 6 baseball seasons?
Well,
7?
It depends on how you look at it, because we started this in 2012, so 7 seasons there. But if we're just going by episode numbers, then we barely just finished one baseball season.
Oh yeah, you're right. Hopefully we're in the playoffs at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, technically the playoffs probably just finished.
Oh right, yeah, right.
Hopefully we won those 11 games, or 12 if you were a wild card team, to get that world championship.
Yeah. Well, speaking of baseball, Tim, how are the Yankees doing?
Okay, not great.
I figured
They have 11 or 12 players on the injured list now, as it's called this year, not the disabled list, but 11 players on there, which kind of affects their start, where they haven't got off to the best start. They're 3-4 right now. 3 or 4 or 3 or 5. Yes, 3-4. So it's not horrible, but should have been off to a much better start, especially they're playing some of the worst teams in the league, and they haven't taken advantage of that. But the best part is the Red Sox are off to an awful start. They're like 2-7 right now. Their pitching's getting clobbered. So they're not off to their hot start like they were last year. And so the Yankees aren't falling behind. But they could be playing better.
Yeah, and thanks to the A's for that.
Yes, they helped beat Boston pretty good. What's their record right now? I know they're good playing.
I have not been following baseball at all. I've just been way too busy. Let me check really quick. Yeah, let me check really quick.
But it's not because of a lack of interest in the A's anymore, right?
No, it's just I've been way too 6-5. I've just been way too busy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Houston is 3-5. So
a lot of the big teams that are supposed to be like the heavy hitters in the league aren't off to great starts.
Right. See, the Yankees are in 3rd place. Same thing with the A's. The A's are in 3rd place. Wow, Mariners are 8-2.
I know, they're off to one of the hotter starts.
Yeah.
And they're projected to be one of the worst teams.
Twins, 5-2.
That's good, yeah.
Rays.
The Rays, they're in 1st place in the division, I know that, but they're a team that were projected to be good, but they might be better than what people were expecting.
Yeah. Another question for you, Tim. What happened to Sonny Gray?
Oh, he's on the Cincinnati Reds, and from what I've seen, picking up right where he left off with the Yankees.
Just not having it as the starter.
Nope. They extended his contract, too.
Really?
That was part of the deal to get that trade done.
Well, Who else do the Reds have? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with their rotation. They're kind of got like middle road players,
Yeah.
like pitchers like Sonny Gray, not in their prime, but not old either. So
Yeah.
kind of middle of the road. They're off to an awful start though. I think they're 1-8.
1-7.
Oh, okay, a little better than what I gave them.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of the NL Central. So.
Hey, we wouldn't be baseball fans if barely a week into the season and fans already panicking about their team struggles or not so good starts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand it personally. It's a really long season. I mean, there's like 180 games still left, so so I'm not sure that's. I'm not sure if you can judge your team quite yet.
No. But that's how it goes. I mean, even if a team is off to a hot start, you'd be thinking, "Oh, this is great. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to be in the World Series." It goes both ways.
But anyway, yeah, that's our baseball talk for this episode. But now we can move on to our Dark Knight Rises minute by minute commentary. We're going from minute 124 to 125, or the 2 hour and 4 mark, to the 2 hour and 5th mark, Tim. So just grab your HD DVD, grab your Blu-ray, because that's going out of style pretty soon, right?
Pretty soon. More 4Ks are getting in homes. I know that.
Grab your VHS copy, your Beta, your Laserdisc, your... Did I get everything, Tim?
I think you got to move on to the subscription-based stuff.
I see. Okay, so definitely grab your Netflix physical subscription, your Blockbuster card, your GameFly subscription, because I think they used to rent movies too. And grab our favorite, your VHS DVD converted copy of Dark Knight Rises, and just cue it to the 2 hour and 4 minute mark, and I'm going to give a countdown. So, Tim, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, hit play.
I actually had my volume up right there, which I don't normally have for the Dark Knight Rises. So I don't know if you heard Selena Kyle there, but she just said to round up Lucius, Bruce, and Miranda. And it quickly takes out the guards.
You would think Miranda would sort of like on the slide do some stuff, to prevent this.
Has to keep appearances.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm glad we got to go back to
the bunker
from the Dark Knight. Yeah, even though it's all cleared out. I mean, but still has those secret compartments with all his gadgets and gear.
What would you use this for besides this?
I know.
That fucker. I mean, like an underground warehouse.
It's always cool to see the bat suit, no matter what room it's in, just in its compartment, ready to be used.
And we're not going to see Batman.
Wait, we saw the suit. We haven't seen it in a long time.
So we're getting closer to.
Yes.
But why don't you tell everybody about our featured topic of this episode, Tim?
Yeah, so our featured topic is going to be very similar to last week's super topic. It can be considered a super topic, I guess. But our featured topic is going to be a Shazam spoiler review this time. Yes, as Shazam is finally in theaters. It's opened this weekend as we're recording this episode. I gave my non-spoiler review of it on our last episode where I got to those early Saturday screenings, which was cool. So you already know my general impressions of it, but there's a few spoiler points I want to talk about because I didn't really get into it much on my non-spoiler review. So that should be fun. But first, Dane, I know you saw the movie, so I'm very anxious to hear your just general reaction of the film and what you thought of it first.
Right. So I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about a different movie. I'm going to talk about Aquaman.
Yeah, so you're really getting caught up on the DC movies, which is
right.
Cool.
Right. So Aquaman, I finally saw Aquaman, and I really liked it. It was entertaining, but what you could tell was it wasn't written very well, right? There's that big action scene at the end with the warring underwater armies or whatever, right? It's hugely entertaining. Jason Momoa is great in it. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I thought
I
it would
definitely
just
could
be,
tell in the lead up. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it would just be him broing around and woohooing and that sort of thing. But I actually really liked his performance in it. Again, the action scenes were incredible.
Yeah.
And they really pulled off the underwater stuff, whereas in Justice League they really didn't do that. It just looked weird. I didn't expect to like the dialogue underneath the water with that sort of what do you call it, Tim? Effect on the voice. But
it's almost to a point where I really don't even notice it when I'm watching it.
yeah, it like at first you realize they're adding like a weird filter on their voice, but then after a while just you just forget about it. Same thing with the CGI. I'd say also the CGI did not look very good when I first started watching the movie. I was like, oh, that looks terrible. I mean, especially the it looks like they CGI'd the actor's body underwater to make it look like they're swimming around and they're acting natural underneath the water. It looked like they just CGI'd that, especially with Willem Dafoe. Like, it looked really bad on him. But you just forget about it, and you just go with it because the movie is just giantly entertaining. But it's not written very well. You could really tell that. I mean, especially like how they try to cram in like all of the sort of different armies underwater, Atlantis, and like the fishermen people or whatever they're called. You can just tell that it wasn't written very well. Great to see Tim Morrison, by the way.
Yes.
I have to say. But
this time in a successful DC movie, unlike his turn as Abin Sur in Green Lantern.
Right. But yeah, it just wasn't written very well. Giantly entertaining, not written very well, right? I think is the base review I can give of it.
Well, it's definitely more of a positive reaction I was expecting for you to have it. I was hoping you'd be entertained by it. I know, you probably, like you said, wasn't written to the style that you like or written very well for how you think it should have been, but I at least hope you were being entertained, and I'm glad that you were.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things I was like, especially Mara's car. It's like, why do they need cars under the water? I mean, can't they swim really fast? Right?
Probably not everyone.
Oh, right, because only some people can breathe.
Yeah, maybe like the high, like the
right.
royal blood and like highborn.
Yeah, right. But yeah, going into Shazam, I was expecting a lot of the same. Just an entertaining, funny movie, not written very well. Because it's Shazam. I mean, who cares about Shazam? I mean, who knew about Shazam?
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, maybe us in the comic book world, but like, I'm just thinking about my dad, right?
Okay.
My dad wouldn't really know who Shazam was. I mean, like, why or how would he know that? So I just kind of had that same expectation going into seeing this. Just didn't really have any, expectations that this movie was going to be anything more than just, a couple of cool fight scenes, some laughs, and then the movie was over, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was really, really surprised that it was way more than I expected. It was
nice.
It was funny. There was a lot of heart in it. You could really tell that there was a lot of heart. Again, written very well. especially for a character that I don't care about. I mean, I'm sorry for all the Shazam people out there, but Shazam isn't really a guy that, really I'm a fan of. But yeah, I guess my bottom line was I was pleasantly surprised that I love this movie so much. I could kind of tell from that trailer that they released, the first trailer that they released, that this was going to be a good movie, but I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be this good. Especially like I really did not think the villain was going to be that good. Thaddeus, right?
Yeah, or Dr.
Yeah.
Savannah, as
Dr.
he's mainly
Savannah,
known as.
right? Yeah, I did not. I thought he was just gonna be a one note, forget about him sort of guy. But then you kind of get into his
Me
back
too, yeah.
and everything, yeah, and he becomes more than that. And I just expected him to be just a throwaway villain that you don't really care about,
Mm.
But
I mean, I was even shocked. Again, I said it at the beginning, but just in case, again, throwing it out there, this is a spoiler discussion, so I'll be going into certain details about the movie at any point. So if you haven't seen it, just be aware of that. But I was actually surprised that the movie started with his character as a little kid and
Right.
showing what happened to him and being chosen to go to the Rock of Eternity and being tested to get the powers of Shazam. I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting maybe a little like to start with the Rock of Eternity, maybe the history of the Shazam lore and the wizards and all that, but to actually focus on the villain at the beginning, that took me by surprise. But it worked really well for, setting up the backstory and to creating more of a sympathetic villain for Dr. Savannah.
Yeah, and I didn't expect to like sort of like the chemistry between Billy and his friend Freddie.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't expect to like that. But
Yeah, that was pretty
played it.
much the highlight of the movie for me, is whenever they were on
Right,
screen
right.
together.
Yeah, so I guess bottom line, what I'll say before we get into all the spoilers and stuff is that I really, really love this movie. I liked it. DC seems to be on the right path with
Yep.
what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to finally see a 1-2 punch. Two good movies having some success too with Aquaman and Shazam. So yeah, really glad you liked it, Dane. I had a feeling you would after I saw it. I texted you afterwards. Saying I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. So glad it even exceeded your expectations, because it did for me as well.
Right.
Kind of
right.
going into it thinking of what you're going to see, and it had all that, but even more, which made it just a really great movie. So yeah, there's actually 4 specific spoiler points that I wanted to touch on for myself. I don't know if you had any other, Dane, but the first one I wanted to bring up is the 7 deadly sins being in the movie. Now, this was something going into it. I thought, okay, once we see Billy Batson go into the Rock of Eternity, because a mainstay of the Rock of Eternity is those statues of the 7 deadly sins. I thought we'd see those and be, okay, a cool little Easter egg. Maybe the wizard will give a little explanation to them and set up for some potential sequels with the being down the line. But it was a pleasant surprise to me that they were a main focal point of, as part of the antagonist of the film, and actually seeing them in the flesh in this movie. That was a nice surprise to me. And I loved how they were used. And this is something I've been seeing going around from other people's reviews and reactions for it, how that sequence with Dr. Savannah going into his father's office in that boardroom meeting, and he lets out all the 7 deadly sins, and they just wreak havoc in there and just take out everyone. How it's being described as like having that horror vibe to it, even though this is a lighthearted comic book movie aimed for younger audiences as well. That they're kind of surprised a scene like this made it, but it works. Where it's not totally gory or anything, or something no one can't see, but it might leave an impression on a young audience member being maybe scared a little bit of seeing those monsters just take out everybody, and you're seeing different people just screeching and clawing at the screen trying to get out with no success.
The director is a horror director.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I keep forgetting that.
Yeah. So I guess he can do that adult horror, and then he can make it kid friendly too.
Yeah, but still have that same effect.
Yeah.
So
Same thing with the. I don't know if you got this same sort of impression, but the I forget their name in Aquaman.
of the trench.
Yeah, the trench lobsters.
Yeah, trench lobster.
Yeah. Same thing with that, especially when they're on that boat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how the two more successful DC movies are directed by horror directors, but hey, it's working, and they bring that element into certain sequences, and it worked really well.
Yeah.
But it just made me excited once I saw that the Seven Deadly Sins would play a factor into the main story, and then once I saw that we'd actually physically see them. Okay, it's probably going to make for a cool final battle between Shazam and the Seven Deadly Sins, which I can't wait to see. But I'll get to that aspect in a little bit, but that was one of the nice surprises I got going into it. I was really glad they decided to, not only have Dr. Zavanna be the main villain, but include the Seven Deadly Sins for Shazam's first movie, because they're just such a big part of his lore. So that was a nice surprise to see, and I really like what they did with them. And now for my second other spoiler point I wanted to go into, and this is revolving the story of Billy Batson and how, the story because in regards to his parents, I was not too familiar what the status quo was for them in the comics. Like I said early on in my non-spoiler review and just in our very early episodes talking about those early Justice League stories and that new origin Jeff Johns created for Billy Batson, I don't remember that they went into, what happened to his parents at all and why he is an orphan. So going into the movie, I was curious to see if they would even acknowledge that at all, or just, say he's an orphan and he's going from foster home to foster home. But once we got that flashback sequence of showing how he got separated from his mother, and that's how he lost or became an orphan. But when I saw that, I was like, I wonder where they're going to go with this, because we see him get rescued by a police officer, and he knows he's with the police, and we think, okay, his mother, they should stay there till his mother comes, and he'll be able to be reunited with her. And I was thinking, what's going to be the reason that he never gets reunited with his mother? How are they going to go about resolving this? Because the whole course of the movie, he's going around looking for his mother. So I was wondering how they're going to resolve that. And once we got to the point of the movie where the foster family, the kids there, were able to track down Billy's mother, I thought, okay, let's see how this is going to go. First, I thought he's going to find out she's dead, and that's it. And he even thinks that too. But once they say no, she's alive, and we have her address, this is where she lives, go and see her, Billy runs off. I was thinking, okay, this is how it's going to play out. He's going to see his mom. They're going to be happy. They're going to like hug and embrace, and start their new lives together as a family, kind of catch up. And then that will encourage Billy to be the hero as Shazam, and needs to do the right thing. Now that he found his mother, he's happy. It's going to put him on the right path to be a hero. But I absolutely loved what they did, where it wasn't the happy ending that Billy was expecting. Once he finds his mom and she doesn't have the reaction he was hoping for, and even when he's about to hug her, she backs off and doesn't hug him. And he's thinking, oh man, okay, this isn't what I thought they were going to go with. And then she reveals how it was her decision not to go after him and pretty much give him up to the police and have him go to a foster home, because she felt, she was a teenage mother, felt he could have a better life without her. So just hitting on some themes that I wasn't expecting to go, but I'm really glad they went with, because they just didn't follow kind of a trope I was expecting them to. And it just really adds to that, theme of finding your family who might not be, blood related. And that just helps with the story more of Billy getting closer and becoming friends with his foster family, his foster parents, foster brother and sisters, and just added more to that relationship that I thought worked really, really well in the film. So that was something, the whole thing they decided to do with Billy's mom and how it wasn't the happy reunion, I thought was great and something different, but just added more to the character development of Billy Batson. So I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, that was probably my biggest takeaway from Shazam. Like, I didn't expect that, and I was like, wow, that's terrible, but great at the same time, because he also has, like you said, his foster brothers and sisters. Um, you know how in the beginning he kind of wasn't getting along with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, looking back, you could definitely tell. Oh, this is where they were leading to. He doesn't really like his foster brothers and sisters, his foster parents, and then, his he wants to find his mom, and then he finds his mom, and then she's really standoffish, and then he realizes at the end that he has this family. It's just one of those things. Like I said at the beginning, my biggest takeaway is I didn't expect this. So
yeah. Because I was thinking, he'd be reunited with his mother. They'd be happy. They'd be watching, sitting in her apartment watching TV on the news or something. Then he sees that, Freddie would be in danger or his foster family would be in danger. And now that he's found his real family with his mom, he thought, like I was talking about earlier, that would set him on the right path to do what he needed to do as a hero because he got what he wanted. And even though he found his real parents or his real family and everything's good, he still feels he should help his foster family too. But that, like I said, that would have been a cliche or a trope that you easily could see coming. So the way that they did it here, I thought was so much better, much appreciated, that it was something unexpected. So hats off to all the writers and directors who came up with that plot point, and just a great moment for Billy as a character and his arc that he goes on. And then the next thing, probably the biggest surprise, and in my theater anyway, the big crowd cheering moment, was in the final act, where, as I was talking about, I was just expecting Billy to go, or Shazam to go up against Dr. Zavanna and the 7 Deadly Sins. But we got the entire Shazam family involved. And I knew they would be involved with this franchise at some point. I just wasn't sure if it was going to be this movie or the eventual sequel that we were going to get, where they would be introduced. And coming from reading Jeff Johns' new 52 origin story he created for Shazam, they were involved with that story, and that's what happened near the end when they were taking on Black Adam. They all transform into their counterparts with the Council of Wizards using the staff and the power of Shazam. So that has precedent. I just didn't know if I was going to see it in this movie, and they did it in this one, and I thought it worked really well. It was such a different and unique third final act in a battle for a superhero movie that we haven't gotten in a long time, or maybe ever, because just seeing, these kids throughout the film. First, you're just having a blast with Billy, having fun with his powers and learning to become a hero. But having his foster brothers and sisters be involved in that final battle and then taking on the powers themselves was just a lot of fun, and just cool to see the Shazam family on screen when I wasn't sure we were going to get to see that in this movie. And like I said, I got a big cheer in the theater when that happened. And it's something where I'm not sure if my theater was full of hardcore Shazam fans who were looking forward to seeing the Shazam family. But I kind of think it's more of the fact that it was just such a great moment. Everyone in the theater was invested with these characters and loved seeing, these good-natured kids become heroes and kind of fulfill their dreams for certain one of them. So it was just great to see, and it got a big cheer, and it made for a fun final act. Them coming to terms with their new abilities and using them to fight the 7 Deadly Sins, save some civilians at the fair. It was just fun. And then probably my favorite sequence out of that whole final act with the Shazam family was when the little, I'm not blanking on some of their names right now, so forgive me that I don't remember all of them, but it was kind of like the nerdy gamer kid, his character, when he's fighting the 7 Deadly Sins, and he shoots out a lightning bolt and just goes Hadouken from Street Fighter. That had me busted up.
Is it Eugene?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So just stuff like that. It was just a lot of fun to see. It made for one of the more memorable final acts in a comic book movie that we got in a long time. So I loved seeing that.
Yeah, didn't really expect that. Again, I don't know much about Shazam, so this is a thing in the comics where his brothers and sisters have superpowers too.
Yeah. The one thing,
so he shares it with them too.
Yeah, what I noticed in the movie and what I don't remember from the comics is that Shazam has all these powers: flight, speed, electricity. But it seemed like for the different members of the Shazam family, they just had one aspect of those powers. I think Freddie was the only one who had flight, and Eugene had the electricity, and then his little sister had the speed. So each one I think had a specific aspect of his abilities. So it's kind of like it's split among them, where Shazam has all of them in one. So they didn't really go into that in the movie, and I can't remember if they did in the comics, but that's what I got out of it. So it kind of makes me think that, they have these abilities, but it's limited in some way, where Shazam will be the main hero who has all these powers. That's what I took out of it anyway.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, it's still made for a really cool sequence, and I'm curious to see how they're going to go into that in the sequels, establishing, how often they're going to be able to use their powers. Because the one thing I'm a little concerned about is that it takes away from the uniqueness and specialness of Shazam as his character, if he's going to be sharing it with all these other characters already. But it worked well for this one. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to make it work in the sequel too, especially if it kind of goes the way I'm talking about, how they only have one aspect of his skill set. So we'll see. But man, it made for such a great moment in this movie. I loved it. And then the last one I wanted to mention, which is kind of a big one. The very last scene of the movie. We've heard rumors, we've heard rumblings, and even got a little tease of it throughout the course of the movie. But first off, it ends on a really cool note, because Freddy tries to get his schoolmates and certain bullies who are picking on him, letting them know that, hey, I know Shazam, we're good friends. I can get him to come to lunch here. He gives the date where he can come to join him for lunch at school, but because of a little fallout they have, Billy never shows up. But at the end, Billy makes good on that promise and shows up to hang out with Freddy at the lunch period, along with all their brothers and sisters. It was a great moment. But then Shazam says, hey, I invited another friend of mine. Do you mind if he joins us? Then you hear the classic theme, and you see the body of Superman walking in with a tray of food, about to sit down and have lunch with them. And then Freddy just turns around and just, I forget what he says, like an oh my God type of word, just yells out a gasp and shock seeing Superman. And here's the thing, it was an awesome moment, but at the same time, a little frustrating for me. I'm not going to lie there. I mean, just the idea of Superman being in this moment was so cool. Just hearing the iconic John Williams theme, seeing the Superman suit, and it is the one they used for Man of Steel and Justice League, so it is in the DCEU universe. Just seeing it was really cool. But at the same time, it just makes me frustrated that this shared universe can't take off to the heights that the Marvel universe goes to, where they have no problem getting any cameo or appearance of a hero they want to use in a movie. But with this one, you can't show Superman's head because they couldn't get Henry Cavill. It was like, how much more cooler would this scene would it be if you actually saw Henry Cavill's face and he had a line of dialogue? I mean, it just would have been a really big crowd pleaser. I would have had a bigger smile on my face. I still had a big smile on my face when this moment happened, but it would have been made even better. It just shows that, that's the frustrating part, where as cool as it is having a shared universe, it just can't quite reach its potential when you kind of have to do little shortcuts like this where you can't show a character's face. So it's just a little bummer, but the intentions they had are great, having Superman involved in this moment. So I loved it, but at the same time, just couldn't help be a little frustrated that they had to take a little shortcut here and not show his face because it wasn't Henry Cavill.
Yeah, they should have just Tarkined him.
I don't know.
Yeah, just
it was
CGI.
This was a smaller budget made film, so I'm sure that would have took a lot. Would have shot the budget up really high if they decided to do that. So I can see why they did it. It just makes me think they couldn't work out some quick little, there were scheduling conflicts, which I read was what led to Henry Cavill not being available. But it's like they couldn't work out one day, a few hours, just to get him to film that one short little scene. So it couldn't work out, but
yeah, he's doing the Witcher television show. Yeah,
I guess they didn't want him showing up with all that white wig, like he did with the mustache from his time on Mission Impossible for Justice League.
Yeah, because then his head would look weird.
Yeah, they'd have to CGI out all that white hair. But still, it was an awesome sequence. But I also too love the end credits that they had too, where it's just like these school kid drawings of Shazam having fun with the different members of the Justice League. I love seeing that. It just fit the humor with the film. It was just so fun to see. So all in all, it was just a really great time. And I guess well, I didn't really touch on this in my non-spoiler review either, but the end credit scene, or the mid-credit scene, I should say, which we got a tease of a potential another villain we may be seeing in Shazam in the sequel.
Yeah, who is that?
And it wasn't Black Adam.
Yeah, I mean, like, who? I'm unfamiliar with with Shazam's villains or whatever. So
that is Mr. Mind.
Mr. Mind. Okay.
I'm not too familiar with him either, but I did know who it was because I remember seeing the character in Brave and the Bold episodes, and I believe he was in some Justice League Action episodes as well. But he was always played up to be, a comedic character. He's a genius mind in a worm's body. So just a brilliant worm. And he had a group called like the Monster Society of Evil. I think that's what they were trying to set up when he was talking with Dr. Zavanna there while he was in prison. So I'm not sure that's the direction they'll go in the sequel. I'm hoping more it's with Black Adam, because I did like the little tease they had of Black Adam at the beginning when the Wizard was talking about his history and what happened to the Council of Wizards and the first chosen one who, abused his powers and took them down. So I'm glad we got a little glimpse at Black Adam, and I hope he is the one we get in the sequel, because after this movie, I'm dying to see Shazam take on The Rock as Black Adam. It should be really cool. But right now, that Mr. Mind tease was fun, but I wasn't expecting it. But it made for an intriguing end credit scene, to say the least. But yeah, so those are all the spoiler points I wanted to talk about for the Shazam film after my non-spoiler review, because those are the other standouts to me that I was looking forward to talking about and stuff I really enjoyed about the movie. So I don't know, anything else you wanted to add, Dane?
Maybe the post-credit scene. I thought that was great with the whole Aquaman thing.
Like you put Aquaman.
Yeah.
Even after his movie, that's a big success, is still getting picked on.
Right.
It was fun too. I like how this seems to be the new norm for end credit scenes, at least when there's two. You get one kind of serious one that sets up another movie or a sequel. Then you get one that's just a lot of fun. It's just joking around, which is fun to have. But I also read later that they actually showed that in some TV spots. But me staying away from all TV spots for the movie, I didn't see it until I actually saw the end credit scene in the film, which was, made for a nice, fun surprise. And kind of surprised that they would put that in a TV spot, though. But it didn't affect me when I saw it. So it was good all the way around.
Yeah, that's why would you put your post-credit scene in your teaser?
I know, it is strange. Maybe thinking, hey, if you see this in the commercial and you're wondering why you haven't seen it in the movie, you might want to stick around till the end of the credits so you can see this moment. So maybe that's it.
Right.
So when I gave my non-spoiler review, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. What would you give it, Dane?
4.5 out of 5. I agree with you. It's definitely 4.5.
Cool. Yeah, I'm anxious to see it again now that it is officially out everywhere. So hopefully I'll get a chance to soon, because it is definitely one of the better comic book movies we've gotten in a long time. And I just hope it has all the success in the world. Yeah.
All right, so I guess we can move on to our news part of the show. I'm gonna save that first one, Tim, for our last.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we need a little more time to talk about it.
I imagine you have some thoughts.
But we. Speaking of that thing, oddly enough, we got our first look at the Joker from the Gotham finale. Does not look good. Looks awful. And by that, I mean he looks. I like the look of him.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're dead on about him looking awful because he's had an awful experience. It seems like, but you know what? I think at least on the social media reaction, we might be kind of in the minority here, because I dig his look too. It is a different style Joker. I mean, if you haven't seen it, he's white makeup, or it's white, skin tone. They're doing the chemical bath for origin of the Joker. So it is the perma white, quote unquote. But his hair is pretty much all gone. There's just little strands of green hair over his bald head, and his face is scarred up like a Joker we've hardly never seen before, especially in live action. It's really scarred up. And it's different, but at the same time, it's still the Joker, and I like it. I mean, there's so many different versions and looks to the Joker, both in comics and animation and on screen now, that, you know, why not go this crazy, creepy route with the Joker? And, you know, say what you want about how he looks and the origin story they created for the Joker in Gotham. I know I've had issues with it, but, you know, the actor playing him, Cameron, I'm blanking on his last name. I want to say Monahan, but I don't think that's it. But he's done a fantastic job portraying this version of the Joker. And I've always said I wanted to see him as the actual Joker at some point. And we're going to get that at least in the last episode here on Gotham. And we got a little tease of it in this teaser trailer they put out where you see a batarang stuck in his hand and it starts laughing. And to me, he feels like the Joker. Yes, he looks totally different in a more creepy version, but it's working for me. So, and again, it's just for the final episode of Gotham that's known to do crazy different things. And yes, it could be frustrating at sometimes for some of the liberties they take with these characters, but like for one episode, I think this look for the Joker is perfectly fine. And I'm looking forward to seeing his portrayal as Joker, even though it's going to be for just one episode, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, so why don't people like it? Just the look of it?
Yeah, just too different. I think it's too, you know, a lot of people say it doesn't look like the Joker, but when you see it, you still know it's the Joker. It's just a different, creepier, crazier look.
Yeah, he looks like he's he looks old.
Yeah, and he probably is going to be older because it's going to be they're going to do a time jump where Bruce is obviously Batman. He's older and not a teenager anymore.
Yeah.
So, and even in the teaser, it looks like they're going to do a little Dark Knight adaptation or Dark Knight Returns adaptation where he's in Arkham. You just see him like kind of, you know, comatose. Is not all there. And you probably want to see his Batman on screen. He's going to realize that that is Bruce, and that would, you know, make him well again to go out and kind of counter Bruce's Batman as the Joker. So they're probably going to do a little adaptation of the Dark Knight Returns there and what gets the Joker involved again. So, but I'm curious to see how much he's going to be in it, because I know they're supposed to highlight all the other villains who shown up in Gotham and have them be in their familiar costumes and, I guess, status quo as Batman villains. So it's going to be interesting. And yeah, the actor is Cameron Monaghan, so I got his last name right. I just wasn't sure.
So are they getting a new actor for Bruce?
They're kind of going to do a double thing where they're going to have just a body double film the bat suit, but then I guess for close-up shots, they're actually going to have the actor be like film him with the cowl on, so you could see him talk in the cape and cowl. But I guess in certain shots, it's going to be creative editing, I think. Where you're going to see the body double in wide shots, maybe him moving around fighting, but then for close-ups, it'll be the kid playing Batman. So, which has got to be an awesome thrill for him, I would imagine.
I don't know if that's gonna work, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know either, but we'll see. They also released that cool like teaser poster of Batman looking over this Gotham City. That looked cool. If anything, just seeing the suit and the silhouette of Batman is gonna be cool to see. So, say what you want about Gotham. The season's actually been enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to seeing it wrap up and getting those Batman connections and just seeing what they do with these characters now that they're actually going to go full on Batman. So, if nothing else, it should be definitely intriguing.
What happened to Jada Pinkett Smith?
She got killed off in season 3.
Oh, so she's not going to be in the finale then?
Oh, well, it's Gotham. You never know. So she could have been resurrected for the second time.
But our next piece of news is that Idris Elba, The Office's Idris Elba, will not be playing Deadshot in the Suicide Squad.
No, yeah, this came out just yesterday as we're recording this episode, where Variety had the exclusive report that Deadshot is being written out of the movie. I think they kind of want to do it where they still want to use Will Smith if he becomes available again for the character, so might as well just have Idris Elba play someone else and not, step on the toes of Will Smith's character of Deadshot, which I think is a good idea. I mean, I was all for Idris Elba taking over the role. I think he'd do a good job, but if they can work it out where, Will Smith could show up in another movie, if this one's successful, I mean, why not? And just have Idris Elba play someone else who's going to fill that Deadshot role. And the question is just, who is he playing? Because that wasn't revealed in the Variety article. there's a lot of speculation about maybe Bronze Tiger, which I can see, or maybe it'll just be a new character created by James Gunn. I could see that happening as well. But what's interesting is there's been a lot of debate I've seen on Twitter about, is this a sequel, a reboot? Like, what exactly is it? It's one of the producers have called it a reboot, but several cast members from the first Suicide Squad have come out and said they're going to be in the sequel. Viola Davis, I should say, as Amanda Waller said, she's coming back for this one. Jai Courtney, he played Captain Boomerang's coming back, he said. And then I believe Joel Kinnaman said he's going to be back as Rick Flag, but I'm not sure if that's been confirmed, that as Viola Davis, Jai Courtney, and Margot Robbie are. They're definitely confirmed. I'm not sure about Joel Kinnaman, though, but I did read something that's saying where he would be back. So it's not sounding like a full-blown reboot that we were expecting. Maybe more just a sequel that doesn't really acknowledge much from the first one. That's what I'm expecting from it. So
yeah, so we're not going to be seeing Slipknot, right?
Maybe his headless body on the building still. I'm not sure.
We're not going to see El Diablo, right?
Probably not. But, yeah.
What is Idris Elba's name in the Thor movies?
Heimdall. Yes.
And he just makes that bridge thing.
That's his, activating the Bifrost, and he has an eye that can see anywhere, out of all the realms. So he's like the eye of Asgard.
Was he in the Avengers?
He was in Age of Ultron, the second one, just for a brief sequence when Thor is having that vision once Scarlet Witch messes with his mind.
Oh, I could have swore he was in not Endgame, but
Infinity War.
He
was in the beginning. He gets killed in the beginning.
Oh, so he's not making a comeback then?
No, he's not. Because he was one of the few characters who weren't killed by Thanos' snap. He was actually physically killed by Thanos. So we all know all the characters who got killed by the snap are coming back, but those who weren't, I think they're permanently dead.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think that they could do more with that, right? So, like, why don't they just bring back Idris Elba? Like, just say this was like a whole reset of the universe. You know what I mean?
Hey, they could go that route. You never know, depending on how they decide to resolve. Bringing everyone back. Maybe it does include everyone who was killed by Thanos. But for me personally, I'm just going into it thinking they're only going to be able to bring back those killed by the snap. And I hope not everyone comes back. I mean, I don't want to sound like someone who wants people to stay dead, but there's got to be some stakes here where there were consequences that some of these characters aren't coming back. And because if, I don't know, I don't want to say it, maybe a little, it might cheapen a little bit some of the events of Infinity War if everyone comes back, like Loki and Heimdall. Gamora, I think, might come back because I expect her to be in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I expect her out of all those.
Yeah, but you see, that's the one that I hope that she doesn't come back. You know what I mean? Like, because that was just a big thing in Infinity War. I didn't expect it.
Me neither.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, I'm thinking about the Guardians movies and how much they rely on her in the Guardians movies. So I was like, oh, maybe they should bring her back. So I'm not sure, but what I was thinking with this Endgame, what they can do is, like, how maybe like Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to play Iron Man anymore.
Okay.
Maybe like they can reset the universe here, and like they can just get a new actor. Say Mark Ruffalo doesn't want to play the Hulk anymore, right? Okay, so we reset the universe back to Eric Bana,
or Edward Norton.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that's not going to happen. I wouldn't want that to happen either. I mean, they've been so successful. Why reboot it now?
Yeah. Plus, too, like, I was thinking, every actor that's played the Hulk, including Mark Ruffalo, has had a really easy job, right? Because they just have to do the Bruce Banner. Banner part.
I know Mark Ruffalo, he has to do all like the motion capture for the Hulk.
Yeah, so. Sure, whatever. I'm sure
there's footage of it.
Oh, never mind. Maybe he only does some of it, Tim.
Maybe. but I don't think it's as easy as you're saying, Dave.
I don't know. I just think it could be the easy. It's kind of like being in a movie where your character is dying. You know, like you just have to lay in a bed the whole time, right?
And just give a really good performance of how sick you are.
Yeah, yeah, right. But yeah, I was just thinking like Mark Ruffalo has the easiest job. Same thing with Vin Diesel. All he has to do.
I really can't speak to Vin Diesel because I haven't seen pretty much any of his movies.
No, like him as Groot. Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you might be right about that. Maybe the MCU, yeah.
I mean, he technically only just had to do the recording once, right?
Technically, but hey, he does all his lines because he has to have those different tonal inflections for whatever the emotion you try to convey in Groot. So he does them all, even though he's saying the same thing. Got to give him props for that.
Yeah, but I kind of have this weird theory that, he just did like the word Groot 5,000 different ways one time.
They just pick and choose for whichever one they need.
Whichever one they want.
That actually might seem like more hard work than just doing the lines as they go.
But yeah, our next piece of news is that the DC Digital Comics Library is going to be on the DC Universe app, Tim.
Oh, here it is. Another episode, another time for me to mention the DC Universe app and how it's not on gaming consoles. But this is great news, though. I was hoping, because this was made at their panel at WonderCon last week, and I was hoping at that panel they would say, hey, it's coming to consoles on this date, and we didn't get that. But this is the next best thing, and you know how I've been saying I'm not going to get it until it comes on consoles. This might be it, Dane. This announcement right here is what might make me actually purchase it without it being on consoles. Because even before the DC Universe app was even a thought or announced, I've been waiting for DC to have a service like this for all their comics catalog to be made available digitally in a month as a monthly subscription, because Marvel Unlimited has been doing that for years, and it's really, really good. They just have a great collection. You just pay $9.99 a month, and boom, any older title you want to use, for the most part, or I should say you want to read, it's there. I haven't had one where I go, I want to check this story out, and it wasn't there. There might be some exceptions there where it's not, but for the most part, it's going to have everything you're looking for. And I've been waiting for DC to get on that ball, and they're finally doing that with this, because they've been touting the DC Universe app to have a collection of comic stories, but it's curated. It had to fit what was available on the service. Like if there is a particular Batman movie or animated movie that is based off a comic, they'll have that comic on there. But now it's going to be their full-blown connection. So, or did I say connection? Because I meant collection. Can't talk about this episode. But yeah, and they're going to keep adding more. So it's not going to have every single issue and story on there right away, but it's going to get pretty close, and they're going to keep adding it every month. So yeah, it's really cool. The only thing that makes it not as good as Marvel is in regards to new comic issues, is that for Marvel Unlimited, it's usually it takes about 6 months for new issues to get added. And for DC, it's going to be a year. But that's not mainly what I read the Marvel ones for. I like going and reading back catalogs of certain stories. But eventually, once it comes to a point where an older issue or a newer issue that I haven't read is on there, it's not where I'm waiting for it. It just pops up when I'm thinking about it. I go, okay, it's there now. Cool. I mean, I'll read it. I didn't get a chance to get it at my shop. Now I'll read it here. So I haven't had a point where it's I'm waiting 6 months for this issue to get on here, and it's such a long wait. With all the stuff they have on there, there's enough to keep you busy for and read until new issues become available. So yeah, I've been waiting for DC to do this for a long time, and now that it's just part of the DC Universe app, I probably might start subscribing to it once it becomes available. It's going to be available at some time in April, so no official date yet, but it's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to finally have that collection of DC comics and stories available on one service for a monthly fee. I think it's going to be great for any comic book fan to have. And now that both the big companies have it, I mean, there's going to be no excuse to read certain stories if you're able to work these subscriptions into your budget. It's going to be such a nice service to have. So I'm really excited about it.
Speaking of being excited, Tim, we finally got our first trailer for the Joker movie.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and
I'm really
do
curious to
you?
hear your take on it, Dane.
Yeah, I love it.
I had a feeling you would. I had a
Yeah.
feeling this is right up Dane's alley.
Well, I have grown to appreciate Joaquin Phoenix. That's
Mhm.
why. I'll watch any movie he's in. Um, and yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like a mentally disturbed person putting themselves in makeup and committing crimes. It seems like somebody that's deeply, deeply disturbed
Yep.
is, you know, is the Joker, right? So yeah, I love the direction they're going with. I really, really like the makeup. I know we had that image, right?
Mhm.
But now we get to see it, you know, properly lit and, you know, moving around the screen, and I love it. It seems like he's like an advertisement guy,
Yeah, at least at one point.
sign twirler,
uh,
and uh, it looks like he becomes like a stand-up.
yeah,
Um,
because we see at
and
one point, like just in the audience, as an audience member in a comedy club,
yeah,
and then we see him trying to write stand up. We see him writing his jokes out. So
right, and oh, it looks so good, Tim. I actually hope, and I don't think they're gonna do this, but I actually hope that they go for an R rating for this. Um, I think this is the movie to do it, and it seems like the direction is going towards that. And I hope they go for an R rating for this.
yeah, I'm trying to remember if they actually announced what the rating is going to be for it. I can't remember if they officially
I
said
don't think
R
so.
or PG-13. So
Yeah,
it seems like it could have that R rating. You're right.
yeah. I mean, especially like the way Joaquin Phoenix is portraying the Joker as like this weird. I mean, there's like a couple of scenes where he has his shirt off and he's like
It's
sucking
like
in his stomach.
super skinny too. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting him
yeah.
to,
He looks disgusting. He
yeah,
looks
it's almost
gross.
like what
Yeah,
Christian Bale did. What was the movie, The Machinist?
yeah. The Machinist,
Mm.
right? Right. It looks, like something like that, and it looks like what I hoped, was gonna be was like they were really gonna get into like the psyche of the Joker, and it seems like that's the direction they're going with. Like this is a really disturbed person who, just has the break, right? And it seems like
Yeah.
that's the direction they're going with. But what really impressed me was the Joker makeup and the way that Joaquin Phoenix looks in it and the way he's portraying it. So yeah, that's my biggest takeaway from the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like your typical comic book movie that we're going to be getting with this. I mean, you're right. It just seems like it's going to be a movie showing the mental and emotional breakdown of a guy who takes its toll on him and he becomes the greatest villain ever. And I'm wondering just how much we're going to see of him as the Joker and doing these full-blown crimes that we're used to seeing the Joker doing, or it's really going to focus on how he became the Joker when it's more flashbacks and like maybe the very last act is him full-blown Joker. And all that stuff, it looks great. Like you said, Joaquin Phoenix looks like he's going to deliver a great performance, doing something different with the character that we've probably never seen before. We've gotten origin stories for the Joker, and we talked about this even when the movie was first announced about, how the Joker shouldn't have an origin. He works better when his history is unknown, but there have been stories where we've gotten his origin and it worked, like Batman 89, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. And this is going to be something along those lines, but just told very, very differently, because I don't think he's going to be seeing him as a mobster or even, donning the Red Hood persona here. It's just going to really focus on this, I think, ordinary guy where just life just takes its toll on him and he breaks down, and it's going to be fascinating to see. So yeah, doesn't feel like I'm watching the Joker that we know and love from Batman stories, but at the same time, that's the whole point of the movie and what has me so excited and intrigued about it. Yeah, there's going to be connections. We saw Arkham Hospital, as it's being referred to. We saw Thomas Wayne, and I think it's that kid where he goes through that fence and he pulls up his lips to make him smile on his mouth. I'm assuming that's Bruce, because we know Bruce is going to be a little kid in this movie. So you just got to expect it not to be your typical Batman Joker dynamic. I mean, Batman's not even going to be in the picture here, and I don't think I'll be surprised if Joaquin Phoenix's Joker makes it to the time Bruce becomes Batman. So I'm curious. That's the big thing I'm curious about. If they're going to go full blown Batman connection here, where it ends with in the future with a real older Joker taking on, or at least acknowledging that there is a Batman out there. So we'll see. But I don't think the movie even needs to go that way.
Well, I had a kind of theory, and I'm not sure if like other people have come up with this theory, but I think that this isn't the Joker as we know him. This is just like prototype.
Okay.
And like somebody else is the Joker.
So they're kind of going to go the Gotham route there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So an entire TV show had this theory too.
Yeah, it was like there was a character. I mean, I won't go into it, but at first, once they introduced the character Jerome, he was supposed to be the inspiration for the Joker later on. So,
I see.
But then they created this whole other convoluted story with his twin brother and all that. So he's now the real Joker, but that was the original idea.
But yeah, just creepy, I'd say.
Yes.
In a way that no other superhero movie, supervillain movie.
This is the really movie you can't call a superhero or supervillain movie. You just got to call it a comic book movie.
Comic book movie. It kind of reminds me of like again going back to your comic book movie sort of title, A History of Violence, which is a comic book movie. It just has that same feel to it, where it's based on a comic book, but it's so far away from it that you really wouldn't make that connection. So yeah, that's I can't wait for this movie, Tim. October 4th. I can't wait for it.
Where does it sit in your ranking of most anticipated movies this year?
There isn't a Star Wars movie coming out, right, Tim?
Oh, yes, there is.
Okay, well, number 2 then.
Hey, if it's your number 1, I won't take offense to it, Dan.
No, I'm serious. Really excited for episode 9. And probably the Joker. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right now it probably sits, I'll go with 4. Because you got Star Wars and Avengers Endgame, and I'm really excited about this Godzilla King of the Monsters movie. Really? I think that looks incredible. And I've heard they're showing like this extra footage and IMAX screenings of Shazam, and everyone who's seen it says it looks amazing, like jaw-dropping good. And I don't want to see any of that footage until the movie comes out in May, but I'm really excited for that. But after that, I'd probably go with Joker now after seeing this trailer.
And is Godzilla actually going to be in it?
Yes.
For the most part?
For the whole movie, I think.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're not going to have like Elizabeth Olsen and that other guy sort of like running away from Godzilla.
I think they learned their lesson with this after the first one. Even with Kong Skull Island, since it's in the same universe, they learned their lesson where they showed Kong early and often in that movie. So, plus you got 3 more monsters to play with in this film, so Godzilla better have a big appearance.
Speaking of sort of movies like that, like I watched the I forget the name of it, the Ben Affleck movie on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the name of it either. I know what you're talking about.
Not Three Kings. That's a different movie. But anyway, they actually showed. I mean, I guess part of the film was filmed here, and like they showed the freeway I take every day. like the team is going on it. I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't expect that.
Hey, speaking of locations that are in movies or TV shows, when you were watching The Office, did you make it to that episode? I believe it was in season 6, where Michael Scott gets lost around the town of Scranton, and he's going to all these different restaurants and locations, while like Dwight and Aaron in Holly Look for Him?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. If you get to that episode and you see Michael Scott at a hot dog like hamburger restaurant he doesn't have his wallet, trying to bargain to pay for it with his watch or ring or something.
Yeah.
That restaurant was right across the street where I used to work at.
Really?
In Burbank. Yeah. And I remember the producers and everyone came into our office, like, getting clearance to film on the street and like have the crew set up in front of our building and all that stuff.
So did you go outside?
No, they kind of wouldn't allow. Certain workers did, but they really didn't get to see much. Kind of looked through the windows though to see a little filming.
It was only inside that they were filming.
They were filming outside, but when you went outside, you really couldn't get a great view in it because they kind of had stuff blocked out. And couldn't eat at that restaurant that day because that was like my go-to spot because it was just so close.
What's the name of it?
Called Larry's Hot Dog.
Larry's Hot Dog.
Yeah. It's funny. They do a shot where they show Michael Scott at that restaurant, and then they show him looking across the street, and the camera zooms to across the street, but it's a totally different building, like a location that's not, because it would have shown the building where I used to work at, but it's probably somewhere that not even close. Just like the magic of editing.
I've had that experience with Lost.
Okay.
It's like it's kind of like they're at it's supposed to be like at the airport, right? Like there's a scene. I haven't seen much of Lost. I've only seen like a couple of episodes, but there's a scene where they're supposed to be at an airport, like somewhere in Europe, right? That's actually just like a convention center. That's like a meeting area.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that sort of like really takes me out of it.
Like, that's not how it should be.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So really excited for Joker.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are. We got one response from our Twitter post about the trailer from our favorite Twitter handle ever, Jim Bob Squarepants.
Oh, Jim Bob. Yeah.
At Vintage TT. He goes, I cannot wait. Bravo to WB for allowing this to happen. Apparently free from the shackles of continuity, previous movies, and huge glitzy production values. I absolutely love the look of this movie. And that seems to be the consensus I've seen. I still see a few of those going out, like, why is this movie even being made? What's the point? Too many Jokers, whatever. But it's going to be something totally different that it might even classify as, like we were talking about, your typical comic book movie. So I think it's going to surprise a lot of people and probably be a sleeper hit because it's on a modest budget, probably even less than Shazam's. And with the Joker name recognition, Joaquin Phoenix, probably some buzz going around about it. I think it's going to do really well. So, yeah, just got to wait till October now. We'll probably get another trailer at Comic-Con, I would imagine. But hopefully they don't go too much into, showing more of the film, because I think it's going to be, this trailer perfectly captures the tone of what it's going to be. And that's all they really kind of need to show. So, and more trailers have been doing that where they have a tone that they're sticking with, and they don't show too much new footage. And Avengers Endgame's doing a great job with that. Shazam, I thought, did a fantastic job because all the big moments we were talking about in our spoiler discussion weren't even hinted at in the trailers, which was I was much appreciated for. So hopefully this will become a new trend for movies where they kind of know what they want to show and just stick to that and not feel the pressure to show more that they need to get more people talking about it. So hopefully that's the case with Joker also.
Are you one of the people that have stopped watching anything Endgame related?
Yeah, I'm done now. They actually had one TV spot this week, and their marketing has been so good for it. I thought, okay, I'll watch this one, and it was good. It showed enough new footage that got me even more pumped, but at the same time, it's like, that's it. Don't need to see any more, but it's 3 weeks away. I'm good.
Right. Yeah, because I saw a couple of people on Twitter posting pictures of themselves covering their eyes. I guess like during like Endgame, the Endgame trailer or teaser. I mean the TV spot.
I just love how they're not showing pretty much any action from the movie. Like any of the big money shots you expect to see in trailers and TV spots, they're not getting any of that.
Yeah.
We see like character poses, which is probably from action sequences, but no action. And I love that.
And what was like the whole thing about like the suits or something? There's a picture of like Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. in like a special kind of suit or something.
Yeah,
like a time travel suit.
Like they're called the quantum suits, I believe is their official name. So there's a lot of speculation as far as what they're for, what they're going to be using them for, and time travel is one of them that has been speculated. There has been some set pictures that have kind of pointed in that direction. I won't say too much about what they involved, but being called quantum suits, that has to deal with the quantum realm, with, is a big plot point in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think the Ant-Man world and that quantum realm is going to play a big factor into probably what they need to do to bring everybody back and stop Thanos from the snap. So I think they're going to be going into that quantum realm with those suits, and whether the quantum realm is their access to time travel or it's like other dimensions, who knows?
Right.
But they're definitely going to be using the quantum realm, I think, and that's what those suits are needed for.
Yeah, you see, so my theory could definitely work then. It's like, oh no, we went back too far. It's the Eric Bana.
Yeah. Well, I think that would fall into the other dimension category.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you see, it can work. It can work, Tim.
It could. Yeah, never say never.
And like they go so far back. It's the old Captain America. Who's that guy's name? Like Brian Salinger or something.
You're talking about the 1990 movie or the 70s TV show where he wore that terrible motorcycle helmet?
The TV show with with the bad costume.
Yeah, oh man.
But anyway, yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna go. They could do the whole old 70s TV universe if they wanted. They got Spider-Man. They got the Lou Ferrigno Hulk. They could do.
You know what? Really, I mean, I think I've said this on this podcast before, but back in the 90s, I want to say early 90s, they had the Avengers TV show, the animated TV show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just shows to it just goes to show how much they didn't care about the Avengers back then. It's like characters I've never even heard of.
It wasn't even the A-list Avengers.
Yeah, Iron Man was in it, but like people didn't really care about Iron Man back then.
Yeah,
I think he was just more of a look guy.
Mm-hmm.
He looks cool. But yeah, it was like a real big trip. It's on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime.
If you're looking for a really good Avengers animated series, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, that is fantastic. That's like their Justice League Unlimited for like the Marvel universe. It's a great entry point into characters from the entire Marvel universe. And it's really well done, told stories. The animation's great, voice acting's great. They did some really cool stuff with that. So that kind of was a nice, because I'm not totally inversed into the Marvel universe like I am DC, but when that series came on, it kind of introduced me to a lot of other corners of the Marvel universe I wasn't familiar with, even though I'm mostly familiar with Spider-Man, X-Men, Captain America side of things early on. But that show kind of introduced other aspects of the Marvel universe that we're now seeing be involved in the MCU, and I have a better idea of what they're about. So.
What's going on?
Just more familiarity with certain characters and their locations and their history and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
So definitely a show worth checking out.
Speaking of time travel, I rewatched Back to the Future.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and something struck me. Like in the beginning, there's that famous scene where they test out the DeLorean for the first time, and Doc and Marty are standing right in front of it, and it disappears or goes back in time.
Yeah,
right before it hits them, and there's like that flame on the ground. Looks really cool. What would have happened if Doc was wrong about the time travel thing? Like they would have just got hit by that car, right?
Yeah, I mean, Marty tried to get out of the way, but Doc pulled him back. So I think it was one of those instances where he better be right or they're going to die. Einstein would have been okay, though. So.
Yeah, I guess he would. I don't know how you would get out of that car.
Well, that's true. Hopefully someone would. They're in a mall. Hopefully someone would find him and break a window and let him out.
Can you imagine being the first responders responding to that? Like,
yeah.
Like, what happened?
There's two dead bodies here. There's a dog trapped in a DeLorean. There's nuclear, Movie's
Yeah.
still such a classic, but never gets
Oh
old.
yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, the time travel thing is totally like you can poke holes in it, but who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it was really great to see those giant video cameras,
Oh,
back in the 80s.
that's what we were talking about our last episode.
Yeah,
That's
right, right.
all right
Oh,
there.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff we've been watching, I might as well stay on that topic. I did
Sure.
finish all 3 seasons of True Detective.
Oh, you did.
I finished season 3 last night. Yep.
And I'm wondering what you thought about season 3, especially after season 2.
Yeah, I loved season 3. You're pretty much dead on about your description and preparing me for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, season 2 had its moments. That shootout they had in LA was, pretty epic, but way too many characters, man.
Let me ask you, during season 2, did you see any places that you recognized?
A few, yeah. I
Really?
don't go down to like downtown LA and Hollywood area too much,
Yeah.
but certain areas I kind of recognize. But yeah, that season as a whole is, like I said, way too many characters to really get
Right.
invested in, and they all pretty much weren't likable.
Yeah.
The only one I really liked was Rachel McAdams' character, but everyone else, like, kind of hard to root for.
Too
And then-
disconnected too.
Yeah,
The story wise.
yeah, it's like they would say all these names, like kind of like, who's that? Like, how does that fit with this character? Like a lot of stuff that wasn't memorable, and just kind of had I want to say a hard time following, but you kind of had to take a step back and try to remember who were they talking about. And so
Right.
this is it. And then the ending was so unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Not only do most of the characters, like, well, spoiler alert here,
Yeah.
but not only do most of the characters die, but the bad guys, you're left with the bad guys winning. And they kind of hinted at, the true story is going to get out, but we don't see the outcome of that. We kind of see the bad guys winning and, enjoying their success of covering up this thing they were trying to do and killing the main characters. So not the best story. Characters weren't great, and the ending was very unsatisfying.
If I remember correctly, it was something like they were dumping waste in a landfill, or like a place that they wanted to build a mall or something.
Yeah, it was like it might have been a new train station or like a transit system or something like that.
Yeah.
They were trying to build.
Right. And there was like waste there, and they were trying to like cover that up. And
I don't remember the waste being a big focal point into the main
I thought
story.
it was.
Maybe it was.
I can't remember.
One of those things that I just missed. Like I said, there's too many things going on. But
Did you see Rick Springfield?
I don't think I did.
The old man.
That was Rick Springfield.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even realize that.
But season 3, Tim, creepiest scene I've ever seen in a TV show. I think I know. I think you know what I'm talking about, with Scoot McNairy in the pink room.
Yeah,
And that guy appearing behind him.
yeah. It's like that episode ends right there. It fades to black, and they didn't show him get hit on the head or shot or anything, but you knew what was happening.
It's like, I guess Scoot McNairy's done.
Yeah. The poor guy has no success in the things I've seen him in. Things didn't work out for him in Batman v Superman. Now this, but man, like that was the one guy you really fell for in season 3. Just couldn't catch a break, and then being kind of at the end of the season, almost being the prime suspect in the 1990 year, and then him being killed when he found out the truth. Was like, poor guy, he didn't deserve all this. But it was a great season. Intriguing mystery that couldn't wait to see how it develops. Great characters. That was the thing missing from season 2. I really like how it just focused on the two detectives who are partners, and that's where your main focus is at. And both, I just want to say Marshall Ali. I know his first name is Marshall Ali. I'm butchering his first name, but
Mahershala.
Mahershala. Okay, thank you. Yeah. He was great, and then his partner. I'm blanking on the actor's name again.
Stephen Dorff.
Stephen Dorff. There you go.
Yeah.
I know his character's name was Roland in the show, but both of them were great. They had good chemistry. But everything that you loved about season 1 and was missing in season 2 was back in season 3. That whole point of going time jumping a little bit, and this time you had 3 settings. They did a great job as playing older men too. I mean, the makeup was good, the acting was good when they were in their 70s. So yeah, all around really well done. The ending and how everything got resolved, I didn't see it going that way.
In what way? In what way?
As far as the daughter Julie kind of getting a happy ending, especially when they kind of tease where that she died, and that was something that the nuns just kind of did so she could enjoy her life and not have to worry about all the stuff that's happened. So, and kind of where she got married to that kid, you just had one scene and didn't really think would show up later on. So all that, was nice to see at least someone from that family have a happy ending. I will say the one thing that was kind of made me think, oh, that's a little convenient. The way that the character Wayne found out that she got married was that he accidentally just dropped his wife's book on the floor, and it happened to land on the page that talked about that kid Michael, who she ended up marrying and having a daughter with. Like, out of all the pages, his name popped up on the one where he dropped the book at. So that's what made him realize what happened to her, and then he went to go find her. And then it just sucks that when he went to their address, that's where
I didn't remember.
his dementia kicked in. But it probably worked out for the best for Julie and her family, so all that stuff wouldn't get brought back up. So, but another thing that, since it went in direction, like I said, I wasn't expecting to go that way and have it kind of be wrapped up that simply, because they were teasing. I loved it how they were connecting it to season 1, where they actually have that newspaper clipping of Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson's characters and how they solved their case, and how this might have been connected to that, where it was like a pedophile ring. And I thought that's where it was going to go, and there'd be a more season 1 connection. So it just ended up being kind of a cool little nod to season 1 or an Easter egg there. But it was cool to see that, that is connected where it is in the, same universe, so to speak. But overall, it was just really good. So glad I decided to check it out and just looking forward to whatever they do in season 4. And hopefully it just keeps on this, same formula, just focus on 2 detectives. If they want to do, the same time jump, it works good, but at the same time, I don't know if that's something they want to keep doing, or maybe that's just the theme of the show, that it is its hook, where it does have these time jumps. I'm all for it, but at the same time, if they don't want to do it, I'm all for it too. Just, have it be nice and concise with just your main group of characters you got to focus on. So,
well, to be fair, season 2 did have a really, really, really good trailer.
Really? I didn't see the trailer.
Yeah, it was really good, and I was super excited about it, and then it just kind of went off the rails in the second episode.
Yeah, pretty quickly. Just right away, you kind of felt, this ain't gonna be quite the same as season 1.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, it seemed like the creator learned from that and knew it worked and was so great about season 1 that he just went with that in season 3, but just made a totally different case with it. So, and it ended up being the right call too, because it was really, really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big thing or what people are saying was the big difference was season 1. The creator, Nick Pizzolatto, I think, he had been writing that for a while. He thought that was going to be a book, but he turned it into a TV show, right? So he'd been writing it for a while. Season 2 was the next year or the following year, and he just didn't have that large of a time to write it. Whereas season 3, he had like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where season 1's such a big hit. Let's get season 2 out.
Yeah, right.
Right. Wow, that makes sense.
So if True Detective does come back for season 4, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, okay. I forgot what the actual time gap was between season 2 and 3, but I know it wasn't just a year, so I guess it was like 2 or 3, I guess. So.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 years, yeah.
And season 3 just started this year in January, right? So
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be waiting a while. But it's as good as season 3 and 1 was. It'll be worth it.
But now we can move on to our comic book reviews. There's no conversation with Alex / listener feedback for this episode. So now we're just going to move into our comic book reviews. And for this episode, we have a big one, Tim.
Oh, it is.
The $10 comic. Which is...
If I'm going to pay $10 for any comic book, it's got to be a big milestone like this.
That is Detective Comics number 1000, Tim.
1,000. That just sounds weird saying that for a comic,
Yeah.
let alone when I've been collecting pretty much my entire life.
And a rating scale is gonna be, what should it be, Tim?
Yes, let's think.
Um,
How many years it's going to take for the next season of True Detective?
right.
Hey, it's on the theme of Detective Comics, so.
Oh yeah. The whole detective thing. I get it. So yeah, that's gonna be a rating scale. The amount of years it'll take for season 4 of True Detective.
There you go. All right,
So,
man. Where to begin on this one? See, I actually kind of have it broken down by my absolute favorites, my second tier favorites, the ones I didn't really like, and then just the final story that sets up what's to come in the future issues of Detective Comics. So I don't know. Should we start with our least favorite story? Because I want to tackle all the stories in this issue. It is huge, but I kind of haven't broken down those categories. So
yeah, I guess least favorite would be good. Yeah.
So my least favorite one, and for the most part, I really enjoyed all these issues. There was just 2 of them that I felt were kind of forgettable and didn't leave much of an impression on me. And the first one of that is Heretic by Christopher Priest and Neil Adams, where I don't know, this issue, the artwork, I wasn't a huge fan of Neil Adams' works in this one, and just the story I felt was forgettable that had to deal with Bruce and Batman kind of going up with members of the League of Shadows. He goes up with meets Ra's al Ghul, and they just kind of call him out about one of their members, Bruce Wayne corrupted, pretty much making him into a good person, and they're not having that, and they had that person killed, and just pretty much saying, they want revenge for what Batman did and kind of tainting their group. So, they're calling him, a heretic because of that. So there was just pretty forgettable. I wasn't a huge fan of the artwork, and just probably my least favorite of this issue. But then my second one, this one isn't necessarily bad, but just kind of forgettable when you mix it in with all the other cool stories we got here. And this one is The Batman's Design by Warren Ellis and Becky Cloonan. But unlike the Heretic one, I did like the artwork. Becky Cloonan, she does a great job, and the story was no exception. But basically, this one is just pretty much how Batman operates and works on taking down a group of criminals in this old abandoned warehouse, where he purposely leads them there because he knows it's the best way to take them out. And we just show him using his environment to his advantage. It pretty much felt like an Arkham game, using explosives to take out these crates and injuring these men from the shadows and doing some hand-to-hand combat. So artwork was cool. Kind of something a good premise, I guess, but I just didn't find it very interesting for issue 1000. But like I said, it wasn't really necessarily bad, but I just found it forgettable. So those were the 2 that were probably my least favorite. So not sure how many you had as far as your least favorite, Dane, but those are the ones that kind of I felt could have been left out or, maybe used elsewhere or something.
What if I said all of them?
Oh, is you're going to give this an issue a 0?
No. The Last Crime in Gotham, the Jeff Johns one.
Okay.
I just couldn't get into it. There's like a birthday party or something. The art wasn't very good.
Yeah, I will agree with you
that
there.
Big splash page. I mean, look at Bruce's chin.
Yeah.
I mean, look at doesn't look very good. Probably the one right after it, the Precedent, I think.
Oh, really? See, that one's surprising because I really like that.
James Tynion. I just couldn't get into that one. And probably, I hate to say it because I really like the story. Or it's kind of, I don't know, 50-50 maybe. It's the Denny O'Neil one.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm just pulling it up now. Return to Crime Alley. I just couldn't get into the dialogue. It's like outdated.
Well, like, yeah, kind of makes sense. Denny O'Neil isn't a spring chicken.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but I did like the message behind it, where it's kind of like Batman has gotten a little too violent. Maybe he should pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate it for that, but other than that, I kind of didn't like the art. Uh, and like I said, the dialogue wasn't very good, very fresh.
I can understand that, but yeah, this one's actually, I'll talk about this one a little later when I get to some of my favorites. So.
Oh, sorry, Tim.
You hurt me, Dane. But so probably the ones on not my absolute favorite, but my next tier under that. I got 3 of them right here. And the first one on there I'm going to talk about is I Know by Brian Michael Bendis and art by Alex Maleev. This is the one where we see Penguin and Bruce Wayne as old men. We just see they're like at this beachside. Looks like it's right outside Wayne Manor. The building's in the background. I'm not sure. We see Penguin just squawking up as he meets Bruce, who's in a wheelchair, just telling him, I know this whole time that secretly Bruce Wayne was Batman, and I kept it hidden for all these years because I knew, if I exposed your identity and you lost your humanity, so to speak, there'd be no stopping you. Batman would be this unstoppable force, and that would be a bad thing for everybody. So I kept on the secret. But I'm letting you know now, kind of thinking, they're about to die, they're old men. He was going to go, I wanted you to know, and I win. It's like kind of this thing. I am actually smarter than you. And then Bruce has the last laugh as he has this little shot come out through his wheelchair, which knocks out Penguin. And Bruce, being one step ahead, just goes, I knew you knew Oswald. And just like the same way I knew you'd come here. It's like, it's just a nice visit to have with you. So it was just a fun little story of Bruce outsmarting the Penguin when Penguin thinks he had the upper hand, knowing his secret all along. Then another one I thought was another fun read was The Legend of Newt Brody by Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah, right.
It was just great seeing Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen team up again for a story after the great job they did on his Streets of Gotham run from a while back. But it was just a story about this bumbling, crook, like this goon that almost everyone in Batman's rogues gallery used for a job or a robbery, and he just messed it up every time. You heard stories from the Mad Hatter, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, the Riddler, just how he always messed up their plan, and Batman would stop them from their plan because of this bumbling idiot. And I just liked all these different accounts that were being told here. It made for some fun moments. And then the kicker was like, you keep thinking, how can this guy keep working with these different Batman's rogues gallery? And some even claim that they killed him and they're surprised he's still alive. And then it turns out at the end that it's really just been different members of the Bat family taking on that identity of Newt Brody and just exposing the criminal's weakness and ruining their plans at different moments. So it was just a fun little gag. And then it just ends with Damian coming in saying, you can call me Newt Brody Jr. because he wants in on the fun that everyone else was having. So just a fun little lighthearted story that kind of an angle we don't get too much with the goons and henchmen of Batman's rogues gallery and how one of them can mess up their plans. So that was a fun little story. And then the last one in my second tier is one that I really liked called But Dane, You Didn't Like. The Last Crime in Gotham by Jeff Johns. I do agree with you on the artwork by Kelly Jones. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite style, and it took me out of it a little bit. You're dead on about that splash page and just his character designs. Not a huge fan of. And honestly, the premise of it really wouldn't work for me unless we got that final moment where, it's pretty much Batman in the future and the current Bat family, which involves Catwoman and their daughter, Damian grown up but still as Robin, and it might not be a new Ace the Bat Hound. It still could be the original Ace, just up there in years. Gotham City's pretty much cleaned up, and except for one villain who created this murder as in the guise of a happy birthday party and different holidays. Because they're thinking, it might be Calendar Man, or it might be Alberto Falcone or Gilda Dent, remembering back to the Long Halloween. But it ends up being someone known as the son of the Joker. And he's saying the Joker has died from the chemicals. He's dying too. And he's like the last villain in Gotham. And he wanted to have this last party to kind of celebrate that. Because once he's gone, Gotham City will be clean. And the Bat family members realize that. And they actually say, Gotham's safe. The streets are clean. We've all done enough. Batman says that to Gordon. It's time for, the family to go home now. I like how it transitioned to, you see the bat signal and Batman goes off in a puff of smoke. And then as the next page, the smoke goes into a candle being lit, and it's Bruce making a wish for his birthday cake that Alfred has for him in the Batcave. He's all alone, but his wish is to have an eventual clean Gotham City without crime or villains. So I like the message it was sending where that's what Batman really hopes for. So maybe not told the best way with the art, but I like what Jeff Johns was going for here, what Batman's ultimate goal is for Gotham City. So I do like that aspect of it. So yeah, those are my mid-tier favorite stories in Detective Comics 1000.
Yes, my mid-tier are some of your lowest.
It seems like it.
Definitely the Warren Ellis one. I just thought, I mean, it was great to see how he sort of strategically planned how he's going to attack this warehouse and stuff. But like you said, there's really nothing to the story. It's just a level from the Arkham games. Sorry.
Yeah. Except you're reading it, not playing it, which isn't as fun.
Another one is I Know. I really liked how Bruce had the last laugh. I thought Terry was going to show up at the end.
That actually would have been a cool thing. Yeah.
Like, we got him or something. Just like a small little line or something. But I liked how the villains sort of like had their meeting and they were like, okay, so who's like the richest guy in Gotham or whatever? Right. And like they finally get down to Bruce and it's like, oh, so it must be Bruce. Another one was probably Batman Medieval. I just really like the art in it. I just thought the art was really great. I don't know who did that one.
Doug Mankey.
Oh, Doug Mankey. Yeah,
if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I never know if I am.
Especially the final shot with his mech suit or whatever it's called. I really like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So our mid-tier and your mid-tier was the exact opposite of my least favorite. So.
Yeah. Right.
But I have my top 5. So those are the 5 remaining stories, and these ones ended up being my favorite. And it's going to be one that was in your least favorite, Dane, The Precedent. I really liked the whole, glad that Robin was a focal point, at least for one of these stories, because he's such an important part of Batman's history and Detective Comics history. And I did like how James, I wanted to say Tinian, but I remember hearing on when he was a guest on Everybody Loves the Drake podcast, it was James Tynion or Tynion. The words, I got to remember to say his name right. So James Tynion's story, I just liked how it was Bruce contemplating about, is this the right thing to do to bring Dick into his war on crime? And I just love how Alfred is telling him all the pros and good Batman can do for Dick by having him be Robin. And as he's saying that, you're seeing the good that does come from it as Robin, him working with different members of the Titans. And as he grows as a character and just everything he faces, you see him as Robin, you see him as Nightwing. And just as I love how that goes with what Alfred is describing of what Dick Grayson can have and what type of life he can have that's better than what Bruce had. And at the same time, be good for Bruce in this point of his life as well. So I just love how Alfred is, again, the voice of reason and seeing what good this can do for both Dick and Bruce. And Bruce kind of realizing that. But I love how Dick is listening in on the whole thing. He was hiding on the chandeliers and he just flops right down and saying, he's ready to go. And how he is, and because Bruce is concerned about this setting a precedent of, other, because he even mentions it to Alfred how, Dick won't be the only ones. There'll be other kids who suffer something similar or goes through the same thing that we have to do something about. So he knows this isn't a one-time thing, which he's kind of which making him weigh this option out to see if he really wants to go through with it. So I just love that whole aspect of it. And then how it ends when Bruce officially agrees to have Dick join him. And we get that awesome splash page of you see Batman and Robin on the top. But then it's that classic image that I just always love seeing of Batman swearing in Dick to, become Robin and uphold what Bruce is ideals and everything he's going to be going and doing as as a crime fighter and trying to save Gotham. So I just love that story of how it began with Bruce contemplating it, and how it ends with that classic moment of Bruce swearing in Dick Grayson, which is such a classic moment. So I did like this issue a lot. So sorry you didn't, Dane, but it ended up being in my top 5. And number 4 is another one that wasn't high on your list, Dane. This is going to be Return to Crime Alley. And I understand exactly what you were saying about the dialogue, but I just love the story and the message that Denny O'Neil was going for. And maybe I'm just a sucker for stories like this that involve Bruce and Leslie Tompkins remembering what happened the night his parents died. You know how much I love the Batman the Animated Series episode, An Appointment in Crime Alley. That is my second favorite episode of the series. And this is kind of acting like a semi-sequel to that, so to speak, in a way, because it is called Return to Crime Alley, and Denny O'Neil did write that original comic storyline that episode was based on. So I just like how Leslie Tompkins, doesn't want this for Bruce. And yeah, she's always there for him. She does act as a mother figure for Batman, but she doesn't want to see Bruce spend his life like this. And, she even calls him like, what you do is cruel. And like, I hate seeing you that way. This is, your parents. And one moment I like is where Bruce is saying, talking about the night of his parents' death. And she goes, no, it's not a death. They were murdered. And, that's something else got murdered that night too. And describing to, Bruce losing his childhood and his humanity in this sort of way. And then they get, as they're having this discussion, these crooks in masks go up to rob them, and they don't know who they're up against with Batman. And Leslie tries to stop him, but Batman just goes straight on, saying like, how dare you point a gun at me? That might be something that sounds a little outdated, but that screams classic Denny O'Neil to me from some of those early 70s Batman stories that I read growing up. Not saying I was born in the 70s, but in the mid 80s growing up, reading some of those older comics. So that type of dialogue is what he got in certain Batman stories. So it's kind of fun to see that again in the comic. But as Bruce is taking them all down, Leslie just screams like, Bruce, no. And I just love how it ends, where she's going up to one of the crooks that Bruce beat up, and she goes, poor thing. And Batman just like is shocked by that. He goes, you feel sorry for him? And she goes, no, not for him, for you. Just even though she's disagreeing with Bruce here, you just see the love she has for him as a son, just feeling so sorry for him. And she calls it poor thing, as a mother would to the child who's hurting. And that's exactly how she sees Batman here. So I just love the story and message that Denny O'Neil was trying to send here. And then my third favorite, as we're in my top 3 here, is going to be the very first story in the Detective Comics 1000. And you probably couldn't ask for a better story to kick off a monumental issue for a title called Detective Comics, because this one is called Batman's Greatest Case, I've jumped ahead. Batman's Longest Case by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And it's Batman very early on in his career. He even calls it his first case, but he doesn't solve it until way later. He just goes on this scavenger hunt that takes years for him, finding different clues, leading him to different locations, to where eventually he leads him to the final location, where he is greeted by a bunch of classic DC characters like Martian Manhunter, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, The Question, Detective Chimp, and they're a group called the Guild of Detectives, and they're there for only the greatest detectives can be part of this group, and they have to make their way by solving these different clues and cases that Batman finally did after all these years. And it's pretty much their work here in this guild is to solve the universe's great unsolved cases and mysteries that are still going on. There's tons of books here, and Bruce is now one of them amongst the greatest detectives. And as they reveal to him, it's like, just because it took you this long to get here, you'll see that, this is just the very beginning as your career as a detective. So I just liked how it was a great kickoff point for the first story should be about detective work, and as Bruce being one of the world's greatest detectives for Detective Comics 1000. So I thought that was a great way to kick it off. And then my second favorite is going to be Batman's Greatest Case by Tom King with art by Tony Daniel and Joel Jones, where it's pretty much you see every member of the Bat family on the rooftop arguing with each other, wondering why they're here. Bruce called us here. Each of them are having these different conversations of what it could be. Jason thinks he's being kicked out. And just all these funny interactions and moments that all these members of the Bat family are having, which we don't see them all together too much. I mean, everyone's here. Batwoman, Red Hood, Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, Catwoman, Duke, Tim Drake as can't remember if he's Red Robin or just Robin again, but he's in his classic costume still, which is important. Spoiler, Orphan, Huntress, they're all here, and then they're waiting for Batman to come. And Batman does arrive, and I like how the story is cutting between all members of the Bat family talking, showing them on the rooftop, but then also Bruce going to his parents' grave in the cemetery, but we don't know why. So when Batman finally arrives on the rooftop, we see him put a batarang on one of the towers, and there's a light on there. And then we realize later, when Batman says the word cheese, they're all together to take this one big family photo. And then Bruce ends up leaving that at his parents' grave. And then they start describing it as this is Batman's greatest case, finding, his family, that once he lost his first one, he has this new one here. And in the end, it is Batman's greatest case that he found his truth. So just, again, another story that encompasses what I love about Batman and his group of family and the characters that is involved with his universe here. So just a great way to celebrate that, all the different members of the Bat family that have come and gone throughout the years. And there's, I think, no better way to celebrate that and show importance to it than Bruce taking a picture of it and leaving it at his parents' grave. So great stuff there. And then finally, my number one favorite story in Detective Comics 1000.
It's funny. Our lists are pretty much exactly the same, almost exactly the same.
So is our number one going to be the same?
Yeah.
All right. Here it is. Manufactured for Use by Kevin Smith and art by Jim Lee. Man, I love this story.
Yeah.
That's what makes this issue so great, that almost every story touches on something that I love so much about Batman as a character and his mythos. And none's more important to me, I find, to the character that I love reading about so much, is the motivation that Batman has doing what he does because of his parents' murder. And this one really focuses in on that in a very cool and unique way, as it starts off with Batman fighting the Joker, and his shield emblem on his chest gets burned by Joker acid. Then we cut to Matches and Malone going into this, secret shop that has all these different items, weapons, costumes this guy has collected from the battles Batman had with various members of his rogue gallery, like Penguin Umbrella, Frieza's gun, Kite Man's kite, all this different stuff, Mad Hatter's hat, Joker or Harley's mallets, all this great stuff. But Matches is there for a specific item, a specific weapon that is the gun that killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. Of course, he's not making it known to the seller why he really wants this, but he asked for the history of it, and the guy does confirm this is the weapon that killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. And he even talks about what a tragedy it was and what it must have done to Bruce and how it must have broken him. But we see him asking for the price of it. He goes, it's $1,000, and Matches just goes, here's $1,500. Like, he just wants it right away. And then we get to the Batcave, which is where the best part of the issue comes, where Alfred is questioning him, like, out of all the trophies you have in here, the penny I didn't argue about. I love how he says, talking about the giant dinosaur, how he kind of threw out his back a few times cleaning that thing. But he goes, even with all those things I could get behind, but I don't know why you'd want to have the gun that killed your parents here as a trophy. And I mean, this isn't the first time I would see that, because in Flashpoint, Thomas Wayne had the gun that killed Bruce there. I kind of thought, and also too, the Telltale games had that, where Bruce held on to the gun, I believe. And I remember those two instances thinking, that's something that we don't see too often, with Bruce having as a memorabilia or as something to remember by the actual gun. And it makes sense I can understand why he would want that. But at the same time, what Kevin Smith does here in the story just works so much better, where he decides to use that horrible event in his life and the weapon that caused that to turn it into something positive. And I love the dialogue that Kevin Smith wrote for Batman here, where he says, he says, I grew up broken and said, after this hunk of metal took everything from me, and who knows how many other lives it ruined or ended. But after tonight, it's never going to hurt anyone again. I'm going to make that metal pay for its sins. I'm going to burn the metal that killed my parents and forge it into something useful. So the metal that broke my heart as a child, that same metal will protect my heart as a man. And that is justice, which we see Bruce forge that, broken metal that he took from the gun and made it his new emblem shield for his Batman costume. And I love that, especially the dialogue that Kevin Smith wrote. The same metal that broke my heart will protect it as a man, and that's justice. It's just So poetic, so good, so Batman. Again, hearkening to what drives him and motivates him to be Batman, the loss of his parents. So everything about this story was so dead on. The writing, the artwork by Jim Lee, I loved it. So definitely the highlight of Detective Comics 1000 that had plenty of good and satisfying stories to celebrate Batman in this landmark issue. But that was the cream of the crop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Except just swap out the Denny O'Neil story with with the Paul Dini story. I really like that with the bad thug, and how like it was just the Bat family the whole time, just doing some undercover work. But yeah, the Kevin Smith one is definitely my number one. Number two is probably the Tom King one. Definitely both stories have in common, or what both the stories have in common is they're overly sentimental.
Yeah.
But in this case, it works, and
Totally.
especially with the Kevin Smith one, and the great art by Jim Lee. And it's great to see Dustin to win on a book, a bad book again. I really like that. But yeah, my number one is definitely the Kevin Smith one. Just how he melts down the gun to protect his heart. I just thought that was like the one of the best connections I've ever seen I've seen in a long time between Bruce's parents' murders and who he is today. I just thought that was great. So yeah, definitely agree with you. Just swap out one or two with different other stories.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up, a lot of it was sentimental, and you got to have that for these milestone issues.
Right.
Especially when you hit 1,000. I mean, come on, that's something. Yeah. I mean, that's only happened once so far with Action Comics, and that was pretty similar to this. It's a celebration of what you loved about Superman, but with Batman, there's quite a few more characters you can do that with, and with, like we said, all the different members of the Bat family that Tom King did in his story that brought some sentimentality to it, but especially in Kevin Smith. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think Detective Comics was a huge success. Great celebration of Batman in his 80 years, his mythos, his characters. Just so much to love about the character, and is why he continues to endure and will for 80 more years and another 1,000 issues of Detective Comics. So yeah, it was just cool to be here to see this milestone for Batman and Detective Comics. Like I said, there's no bigger comics than Detective in Action, and to have both of them hit that huge milestone is awesome. So yeah, for a rating, since it wasn't quite perfect, there was a few issues or a few stories that I didn't really, care for, being the Batman's design and Heretic. And Medieval I didn't really touch on because, it is the final story of the issue, and it is setting up the potential new arc that Peter Tomasi is going to do with the Arkham Knight. I'd be curious to see who it is, but I don't know, not overly anxious to find out. I'm going to get more Detective Comics issues, obviously, but it's not something I'm chomping at the bit to find out who can be the new Arkham Knight, because it is something it's not like something we haven't seen before with Batman, as far as someone who thinks he can do what Batman does better. So, but Peter Tomasi writes great Batman stories. His last arc in Detective Comic was great, so I'm sure this one will be good too, but wasn't quite a standout.
It's Peter F. Tomasi.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Yeah. That is kind of his official, signature now that he does for his comics. So overall, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 years. We got to wait for the next season of True Detective.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 4 out of 5 years that we have to wait for the new season of True Detective. It's going to be a while until we see that, but
Detective Comics 1000, it was a while to get to that, but it was worth it.
It was worth. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess that's the end of our show, or end of this episode. Just go over to batmanuniverse.net, facebook.com/batmanuniverse, and the Twitter handles @batmanuniverse. And you can follow Tim on Twitter. Tim's Twitter handle is at TimG311. You know what? TimG311.
Oh, thank you. What's the
Since
occasion?
we're on Detective Comics number 1000.
Okay.
And my Twitter handle is at DeanSaysBanana. Rate and reviews on iTunes, and you can email the show at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. Oh, and you can follow the show at on Twitter at Bat-Fans Podcast. So with that, like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim.
We love each and every one of you with all of our bat and detective hearts.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.